Good evening, everyone. So, I had posted a question today in the community tab regarding Doppler broadening. And before I post the solution to that question, or before we discuss the solution to that particular question, I would want to discuss with you line broadening in spectroscopy, which is also a recently introduced topic in the GATE 2021 syllabus and a very important one. So, what exactly is line broadening in spectroscopy? If you look at the spectra for any particular molecule, you will find that there is some width associated with those spectral lines. Okay, they might look to you like they're very sharp, but if you observe them carefully, there will always be some kind of broadening associated with them. Okay, so this is what we are going to discuss, that why does this line broadening happen and what are the major reasons for this line broadening. So even though if your experimental conditions are perfect, still you will observe some kind of line broadening, which is an inherent you can say a characteristic of any spectroscopic technique. So the reason behind this line broadening, there are three major reasons, so we'll discuss them one by one. The first reason is due to the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Okay, now how do you apply the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle in the case of line broadening? So it is given that the slight change in energy, or the perturbation in energy, and the perturbation in the lifetime. Now what exactly is this lifetime? See, whenever you are carrying out spectroscopy from the ground state, a particular molecule gets to the excited state, and then it comes back to the ground state, right? So this when it goes to the excited state, it will stay in the excited state for only a very limited time. So that is what this delta t stands for, that in for how much time the molecule is there in the excited state. Okay, and delta E is the perturbation in the energy, a small change in the energy. So what the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle states, that you cannot know for sure what exactly is going to be the energy of the system in the excited state. Okay, what exactly, like you cannot precisely say this is going to be the energy for the system. Okay, so this is basically something which inherently comes due to the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Now a very useful thing comes out of this. See, delta E I can write down as h into delta V. Okay, which I write into delta t is approximately equal to h upon 2 pi. You can write h upon 4 pi also, but in some books it is mentioned as h upon 2 pi. Now if you do this, your h is a constant, so from here you can cancel out h and h. So what you observe is that your delta V is equal to 1 upon 2 pi delta t. Okay, and this delta t, like I said, is called your lifetime. Okay, it's called the lifetime, that how much time the molecule is there in the excited state. And in some books you will also mention it will be mentioned as tau. Okay, it is mentioned as tau. I'm not sure if I'm right giving the correct symbol, but it is mentioned as tau. So that is, tau is nothing but your lifetime. So this delta t is your lifetime, and if you see, they're inversely proportional. So what that means, this is a small perturbation in the frequency. So this is going to determine how much the width of the spectral line is going to be. So what this tells you is that if our lifetime is very, very small, okay, if the lifetime is very, very small, the frequency, the perturbation in frequency, or the width of that frequency, or the change in that frequency is going to be very large. That means if the frequency change is very large, this line is going to be more broadened. Okay, so one of the major reasons behind the line broadening is basically the lifetime. If the lifetime is less, then of course your frequency is going to be large. If your frequency is going to be large, the change in the energy is going to be large, and that is why you will observe a very wide spectra, or a very wide peak in the spectra of a particular molecule. Just as an example, I would just like to tell you that the lifetime for your EPR spectroscopy is approximately 10 to the power minus 7 seconds. Okay, this is the lifetime for a molecule in the excited state in the EPR spectrum, right? So if I do the calculation and if I find out the frequency, this change in frequency, if I consider 2 pi to be almost negligible, so the if this is my delta t, that is 10 to the power minus 7 seconds, so my change in frequency comes out to be approximately 10 to the power 7 hertz. Okay, and the ESR frequency, or the ESR spectrum, is generally operated in 10 to the power 8 to 10 to the power 10 hertz. Okay, 10 to the power 8, it starts from 10 to the power 8 hertz. So what that tells you is that, see, this change in frequencies is very, very close to the actual frequency at which the ESR spectra operates. So that means this is a very big reason. Okay, this Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is a very big reason in causing the broadening in the ESR spectra. Okay, Whereas if I give you another example of electronic spectroscopy, the lifetime for the electronic spectroscopy is approximately 10 to the power minus 8 seconds. So that gives me a frequency of around 10 to the power 8 hertz. Now what that tells me is, if I talk about the frequency at which the electronic spectroscopy is operated, that is approximately 10 to the power 14 to 10 to the power 16 hertz. That is the approximate range at which the electronic spectroscopy is carried out. So you can see there's a major difference between the both the values. So over here we can clearly say that in the electronic spectroscopy, this Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is not the reason behind the broadening. Okay, it is not the major reason behind the broadening, whereas in EPR spectroscopy you can say that the major reason behind the broadening is due to the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. So that is one of the reasons. Okay, now let's look at the second reason. The second reason over here is called the Doppler broadening. So I am not sure how many of you are aware of the Doppler effect. Okay, so basically what happens in Doppler broadening is, see, when you provide some frequency to the molecule absorbs that frequency, gets to the excited state, and when it is coming back to the ground state, it will release that energy. Okay, and let's say there's a detector which is going to detect that frequency that is going to be observed. Now what the Doppler effect states, that the molecules are in random motion. Okay, they're moving in random direction. So let's say I am the observer where I'm detecting the frequency which this molecule is going to emit. Now let's say this molecule over here is going in this direction, and there's another molecule over here that is going in this direction. Okay, so what the Doppler effect says, that the frequency that will be emitted by this molecule which is moving away from me is going to be different than the frequency that is observed by this molecule which is moving towards me. Okay, so because of these difference in the frequencies at a molecular level or at atomic level, I will observe something which is called the Doppler broadening. Because so that is also one of the reasons for the for a broad band in the that is obtained in the spectra, or the width in the, or the line broadening in the spectroscopic techniques. Okay, and this Doppler broadening is basically, if you look at this formula over here, V is the frequency. Okay, and delta V is the Doppler width. That means the width of the spectra, the spectral line, that is delta V, which is caused due to the Doppler broadening. So the delta V is equal to 2 into the frequency upon the speed of light into the Avogadro's number into Boltzmann constant into T, that is temperature in Kelvin, natural log of 2 upon the molecular weight. Okay, and this is under root. This whole is under root in the brackets. So what that tells me is that the spectral width, that is delta V, is directly proportional to the temperature, and it is inversely proportional to the inversely proportional to the molecular weight, and also directly proportional to the frequency at which I am carrying out the experiment. Okay, so this is very important. The Doppler broadening is basically dependent upon the molecular weight, inversely proportional to the molecular weight, directly proportional to the frequency at which I am carrying out the spectra. Okay, or which at which I'm carrying out the experiment, and it is also directly proportional to the temperature. So what that tells me is, if I do a reaction, if I do an experiment at higher temperatures, then I'm going to observe more width or higher Doppler broadening in the case I'm carrying out the experiment at higher temperatures. Okay, and similarly, if I'm carrying out the reaction or the experiment, at higher frequencies, then also I'm going to observe a higher or a larger Doppler broadening. Okay, that is one important aspect that you need to keep in mind. And the third reason, which is like, there are three basic reasons. So the third basic reason for this line width or broadening of the spectroscopic lines is basically collision frequency. Okay, or you can just simply say, how do I put it? It is sometimes called pressure broadening, or it is also called collision broadening. Okay, so I'll tell you why it is called pressure broadening or collision broadening. See, there are two reasons why collisions lead to broadening in the spectra. The first reason is that if we talk about the ground state or the stationary state of a molecule, when the molecules keep colliding to each other, due to this collision, there's a small perturbation in the ground state energy of the molecules, and due to this small perturbation, different molecules will absorb different kinds of frequencies, and that is why you will see some width, because when they collide together, they may collide head on, they may collide side on, due to which there will be slight perturbation in their energies. Okay, secondly, if you talk about their excited state, when the collisions happen very, very frequently, the molecule would not be very, very you can say stable in the excited state. Okay, I mean it will quickly disintegrate from the excited state. So what that tells us, see, if you look at this uncertainty principle, we had discussed that if the excited state is small, the perturbation in frequency is going to be very large. So what I'm saying, due to the collision, this lifetime in the excited state will decrease. If this lifetime decreases, what will happen? The perturbation will increase. So that is why you would observe that due to the collisions, there's a broadening in the spectral lines. Okay, and it is called pressure broadening also, because your collision frequency, that means how frequently the molecules collide, is directly proportional to pressure. So if the pressure is large, the collision frequency is going to be large. If the collision frequency is going to be large, of course the broadening is going to be large. So that is why it is sometimes referred as pressure broadening, and sometimes it is also referred as collision broadening. So these are the three major reasons due to which you observe a line width in the spectroscopic techniques. All right. Now, if I talk about the question for today, I had posted this question, and the question says that the Gaussian curve representing the correct variation of a Doppler broadened spectral line with temperature. So basically, I'm asking you that what will happen on increasing the temperature. So if you look over here, I've given a temperature of 2T, I've given a temperature of T, and I've given a temperature of T by 2. I told you that if we increase the temperature, the Doppler broadening is going to increase. Okay, if the Doppler broadening is going to increase, you will have a larger line width. So if you look over here, the line width in this case is going to be the largest. Okay, this is the line width over here at the highest temperature. Then in between, that is the temperature T, it is this much. And then for T by 2, it is almost this much. Okay, so you can see that the line width is maximum for your for the highest temperature, and that is why the correct answer is option number A. Rest of the options you can see for yourself, they will not match. How do you actually estimate the line width? Full width at half maximum. Okay, full width at half maximum, that is how you basically estimate the Doppler broadening or the width of a particular spectral line. Okay, full width at half maximum. So what do you do? Basically, you need to, if this is your, let's say, spectra that you are observing, okay, then you have to see the maximum intensity. So let's say the maximum intensity that I obtain over here is at this point. So from this point, I have to go to basically half of this. Okay, wherever I am obtaining the most intensity, I have to go towards the half of it, and from here I have to measure the width. Okay, so this is called full width at half maximum. Okay, so wherever I am getting the most intense peak or the most intense line, from there I have to basically go to half its value, and from there I have to measure the width. So that is how you measure the width of any particular spectral line, right? So this is one thing that you should know. So yeah, that's about it. Anyway, I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, please do not forget to give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't done that, think of it as a way to support me or motivate me. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would highly recommend you to subscribe to it so that you get notifications as soon as I upload videos. And as you would have seen by now, I have become slightly regular in uploading the videos, and hopefully this trend will continue. All right. So anyway, once again, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video really soon. All the very best for the upcoming GATE examination.
Hey guys, so I'm a verified educator on Unacademy, and along with that I'm also available on the Unacademy Plus platform, where I'm taking live classes along with other educators. So in case you're interested in attending the live classes, you can subscribe to the Unacademy Plus platform using my referral code, that is SETHI, and that will give you 10% discount. Alright, and in case you're not interested in attending the live classes, you can watch the free courses that are available on the Unacademy. For that, all you need to do is go to the Unacademy website or download the Unacademy Learning app and search my name over there, that is SETHI. Once you do that, you will get the access to all the free courses that are available on the Unacademy platform.